It's Friday, December 11, 2020, and welcome to Asia Pacific Today. I'm Mike Ryan. Coming up, the US and lockdowns. But what about business? We catch up with Blake Christian from Holthouse, Carlin and Van Trite shortly. Plus, we unleash the Democratic demon lurking inside of Kirk Clyatt. Much of Southern California, the San Francisco Bay Area and Central Valley have been placed under a sweeping new lockdown. The new measures, which include the closures of all bars, hair salons, barbershops, casinos and indoor and outdoor playgrounds, will remain in place for at least, most likely, 3 weeks or maybe even more. Blake Christian is a partner at Holthouse, Carlin and Van Trite. Blake, thanks for joining us once again.
Great seeing you, Mike.
Several states have imposed increasingly severe restrictions on small business since the presidential elections. Can you tell us offhand which states are affected?
Well, it's, all the high population states, most notably California, New Jersey, New York. I'm not positive on Illinois, but I suspect they are too. A common theme: they're all Democratic governors.
Are small businesses in these states being more harshly treated than big business?
Oh, absolutely. The little corner markets closed. Restaurants closed. But big retail, big box retail, open, and so Targets and Costco's, etc., are all open. There's really not a lot of rhyme or reason. There's always this talk of we're relying on the science, but there's really no science to support a lot of their positions.
What about the business groups and chambers established to help their members? Are they complaining loudly enough to government?
It's interesting. I do a lot of consulting and presentations with Anaheim Chamber of Commerce, which is where Disneyland is located, and that city is probably the most dependent on hospitality of any city in California. Plus, the Angels baseball team plays there, so they just been decimated. And again, it's just so frustrating because so many people are out of work. I can kind of understand maybe Disneyland, but a lot of the the restaurants, the retailers, they shouldn't be shut down, and they could certainly open Disneyland with low limits on attendance and things, and standing in line, spatially separated, but they're just taking this hard line. It's very illogical.
What about, though, the chambers? We don't hear a whole lot coming from the business chambers anymore. They've and especially over the election period, when the Donald and the Joe were up against each other. Why are they so quiet? I mean, is there a change of attitude from the chambers to business itself?
Again, the Anaheim Chamber has been extremely vocal and definitely challenges the edicts coming from Sacramento. But others, I agree with you. They could be a lot more vocal. I have not heard the U.S. Chamber of Commerce really, saying anything about these lockdowns. And again, in Los Angeles County, they're shutting down all these restaurants. And then when they looked at the statistics, which we're supposed to look at the science, right? Mm-hmm. And 2.3% of all cases were attributable to restaurants, and 4 times that related to government office buildings. And they're not I understand government office buildings are essential services, but it's just insane to shut down all of these restaurants that so many, they're just small businesses. People have their life savings in there. It's just a tragedy.
What immediate and longer term impacts will the restrictions have on large economies such as California?
Well, again, California, it's dependent a lot on being a tourist state. So, international travels, shut down tremendously. And these businesses, they do not have the wherewithal to bounce back. And so, you're hearing reports that, 40, 50, 60% of these small businesses and restaurants will never reopen. And I'm part owner in a restaurant in Long Beach, and I can tell you, we have some staying power, but most of these other small guys, they have no reserve, and that's going to also just leave these employees unemployed for years. It's a really sad situation.
Many states are not locking down. The impact on the whole US economy may be less significant, but what it does do, it creates this uneven playing field, doesn't it? If you have California locked down and another state not locked down, well, the one that's not locked down continues on, and California, it just slips deeper and deeper into debt.
Right. And that's what's happening is it's a vicious circle, because then they jump on a plane or get in their car and drive to some other state, or actually it's even county. They'll drive from one county to another and go to their restaurants, which are open. Orange County sits right next to LA County, and a lot of my friends, they say they're going out, and I said, "You must be going to Orange County," and they said, "Yep." And so it's this redistribution of wealth within the state, and then also amongst states. So it's having a lot of unintended consequences, and just further frustrating the whole business community, especially the poor small guys.
Do you have many small business clients who are affected by the lockdowns?
Fortunately, our client base, is larger clients, and they've actually fared much better than some. But I have a lot of friends that are small business owners, and no other CPAs that have that as their main client base, and it's been devastating, not only to the core business, but all their suppliers and things too. You've got the suppliers of meats and fish, and it's all of those have had just massive downturns. It's terrible.
Lockdowns are depressing and economically devastating. 2/3 of the US live paycheck to paycheck. Business confidence, how's that, do you think, these days? I mean, California must be just at an all-time low.
Yeah, you talk to these business owners, and it's at first it was worry, but it's kind of moved from frustration to rage with, they just feel like the political leaders are doing so much of this, based on, an ideology rather than, really trying to protect the people. There's no doubt there's a spike in cases, but also there's a lot of that is because there's so much more testing, and the death rate though has fallen through the floor. It's I think probably 1/4 the rate it was back when this started, because they know how to properly ventilate and get these people back on their feet. At first, it was a real uncertain how to how to handle the patient.
Wonderful way to control the people, though, isn't it? By fear. And if a government was looking at a way to control their constituents, this is about the perfect remedy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really, it's a head scratcher exactly what some of these states and cities, what their end game is, because it's it's again they're cutting their own throat. They're not, their tax revenues are down. The occupancy tax on hotels, all of that is really, really bad for the city county budgets. And the only thing I can think of is they think Biden is going to write them massive checks, and so it's just a short-term play. But I don't. The Republicans aren't going to given a blank check, to Biden to do this. There are some checks and balances in our system.
The runoffs in Georgia be very important because of that very reason. If the Dems win those 2 seats there, Biden or Obama, who's the puppet master, and Kamala and all the other somewhat wackos behind the scenes, they're going to control the whole kit and caboodle. So therefore, whatever happens, they could write a very big check out or some very big checks, and we'll just put up tax. And that's always a fear too, isn't it?
Yeah, if we lose those 2 seats in Georgia, it's game over. It's going to be a very different America. But I'm pretty confident with the makeup of the Georgia voters and the various candidates that they're not going to win both of those. And I think there's a decent chance that the Republicans will win both of those. In raw votes, both of the Republicans, had the most votes. They just did not get over 50%, which is a strange requirement and a silly requirement, I think, in Georgia. It's a very unusual threshold that you have to beat.
Did you see the Trump rally on TV? I have a real problem. I mean, this guy is like a rock star. I mean, he just draws out hundreds of thousands of people. And if you transfer that across just to the general populace, you would have thought if the election was fair and there was no alleged fraud happening, and that Dominion wasn't playing tricks, allegedly, of course, you would have thought that he would have, there was no blue wave, it was a big giant red wave that got bigger.
Well, obviously the House results support exactly what you said. And while I totally understand that a lot of people do not like Trump, it is very counterintuitive, the lack of enthusiasm for Biden, the early results on election night, the closing of many counts for several hours. It's all very odd, and the whole Dominion machinery and just very strange. There's just a lot of inconsistencies. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but this one's hard to figure out.
What's the latest, Blake, on the economic relief package being negotiated by Congress, and who will it help?
Well, it looks like it's moving at a pretty good pace. There's some. Yesterday I heard that there's a possibility that we could have a bill by the end of the week, Friday. But it's a little under $1 trillion. I think $982 billion. So it's closer to what the Republicans have been pushing for versus the Democrats. And the whole reason the Republicans were nixing the prior bill was that there were just hundreds of billions of dollars going to these states and a lot of programs that weren't even COVID related, and they were just bailing out states that had deficits long before COVID hit. So there just need to be a little more fair play, and I think we're going to get there.
Interesting. Of course, those states would have been Democrat states. Why? I mean, why are the Democrat states always in trouble financially? Is it just poor management, or they're doing too much of the do-gooders? The halo is shining brightly, or are they just incompetent?
It's kind of the tax and spend mentality, and so they they have all these unfunded programs, and then they dig themselves into a hole, and then they their normal game plan is let's tax the rich, and that's not a hard thing to convince. If 3/4 of the population is not making a lot of money, it's real easy to say, hey, let's tax these guys. Aren't you jealous? And they're not pointing out that a lot of those people are the job makers. They're creating businesses. They're putting their savings at risk to start a business or expand it, and they're an easy mark, and that's what's happening in California. Just this vicious circle of they're digging themselves in a hole, and then having their hand out, and then you have the voters say, yeah, that doesn't affect me. Let's get more money out of them, and we can have more programs, or fix this deficit shortage. So.
Well, most businesses shut down receive funding support from their state government, or does it fall to the feds?
Yeah, really. The states are very seldom coming up with their own funds. All these CARES Act money it's a federal program, and then sprinkled down to the states, and so they, some of that money was redistributed at the state level. But the states aren't leading by example and saying, hey, because most of them, especially these red or blue states, are not, they don't have savings, so they can't go in there and dig out of their own coffers and help these businesses. So, and that's what a lot of them are doing right now. These city mayors are saying, oh, I'm going to give, in Long Beach, where I have an office, saying, oh, we're going to give $10 million to the restaurants since we've decimated them, but it's only going to come if the feds pass this bill. So everybody, write to your senator and congressperson to make sure they pass this bill. So it's just, it's other people's money. So they don't, that's the problem. They don't understand how business works and earning it yourself. And when it's somebody else's money, it's real easy to throw around.
California, described by one business man last week, in fact, 2 weeks ago, sorry, said that it was a communist state, which, interesting comment, because the guy has done very well in business. Socialist, Hawaii used to be the most socialist state in the Union. California took that mantle, ran itself into the ground. We need some money, but we can do all these great social programs. We need the money, haven't got any. But now you see for businesses to be describing it as a communist state, which is pretty scary, because others must also be thinking the same thing. Looking at the running of the state of California, even the food bowl you have in Central California, over the years you can see how the water has just gone. It's just been decimated, and now you're looking at this great, from the satellite photos. Once it was green, and then it got a bit brown, and now it's almost showing yellow. Gets back to the original question before: are the Democrats just purely incompetent in running a state? Because business is failing, your natural resources are failing, yet the bushfires, because, we mustn't clean the undergrowth. Well, that's what they've been doing for hundreds, thousands of years, and they decided to change the way we're going to do this. We're going to look after Mother Nature. So they're failing on all counts. and it's pretty depressing, isn't it?
It is, and it's sad to see these people lose their farms, and just because they didn't want some fish to have some risk of dying. It's really sad. There needs to be, our legal system. It's so easy to block things, and it's it costs millions, tens of millions, and it ruins livelihoods. We just see it every single day, and so there needs to be, I don't know. I mean, it was a wonderful state for so many decades, centuries, in fact, and it's just gone really downhill. And you pretty much have a super majority of Democrats in the legislature there, and so really, the Republicans have no voice there anymore.
Just horrific. Where do you see California heading? I mean, if they keep going the way they're at.
Interestingly, I think there is beginning to be a little bit of a backlash. I don't know the exact number, but there were a number of House seats that were taken from Democrats. I know it was at least 4, but I think it may be more like 8. That just, we just haven't seen that in the last 20 years. So I think that shows there's people that are getting fed up. I think the social unrest and things is even taking the moderate Democrats and saying, gee, we need a little bit of law and order here. We can't have, just, everybody, operating without any rules. And so that's what happens. Things go to too much of an extreme, and then people wake up. And I think we're seeing a little bit of that. But it's going to take 10 or 20 years before there's any, noticeable swing to conservatism there.
Just finally, it's always good to see the leaders of the states or the communities. We have Newsom, of course, heading down for science purposes only, of course, and heading down to the French Laundry because it was, again, to show you what not to do. You even had in Long Beach, there was an official there that said you must lock down. It's social distancing, no outdoor eating, none of this. And then she popped down to a restaurant in Santa Monica because she was being very kind, and she wanted to go down there personally to tell that restaurant that they're going to be shut down for 3 weeks at least. And then you have in Austin, in Texas, the mayor via a pre-recorded message saying that you must not leave Austin. You must stay in your homes. Whatever you do, don't leave your house in Austin. And the guy had taken a private jet and flown down to Cabo. So it's more of what do as we say and not what we do. And that gets back to the whole thing. It's not science, a lockdown. It's just your person, or it's just the government in charge of that particular community. It's their direction of control.
Right, and so many of these people ended up getting COVID as a result of that, which I thought was maybe fair result. The Colorado governor, he left and went to Thanksgiving and then came back and had it. And then Rachel Maddow on MSNBC, her partner got it after, and she's just every night, talking about how, people need to be masked up and things. And I'm just curious, you would have thought that there would have been some announcement of, for everybody else's benefit, this is how my my partner got COVID.
Good to see the dream still alive, Blake. The democracy, or the Democrats, the dream, hypocrisy. It's what we all aim for. It's the great dream, and then to get away with it. Blake Christian from Holthouse, Carlin and Van Tripe. Before we go, if somebody wants to get hold of you to talk about business, or other things, elks, or how deep the snow should be, but it's not. Climate change, of course. How do they do that?
So our firm our website is www.hcvt.com, or you can just Google Blake Christian CPA, and you can get to me that way.
Blake Christian, thank you very much.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Well, the US presidential election is basically Mark II of Gone with the Wind. It's taken so long. Kirk Clyatt, why the delays?
It's just ridiculous. It's just Republican obstructionism. And, before we get into this nastiness, I thought we'd just hang out with her name's really Adorable, which is what Mark, my partner, named her. But I know her real name is Eve.
Evil.
But she's chocolate. She's chocolate, which is what I did on my birthday. Just ate chocolate cake all day. You can't go out. Oh, you might be able to hear just like last week. Here come the police.
Well, in fact, we shot this all on the same day.
No.
What a torturous event that would have been.
Well, the reason I'm wearing this again is because, Mike, these are the actual winners of the election. It just shows you how distorted things are in the United States. 2016, Donald Trump, 306 electoral votes. Hillary Clinton, 232, although Donald keeps getting her number wrong many, many times. So the exact same numbers this time, except flipped around. However, in 2016, remember, Hillary Clinton won by over 3.5 million in the popular vote. Now you have got, of course, Joe Biden up by over 7 million. But lo and behold, the Republicans refuse to believe it. The trending on Twitter is sedition. Trending on Twitter is the Sedition 17, or the 17 Seditionist, because in addition to this guy, Ken Paxton, who is the Attorney General of Texas, who's basically just out there, Mike, cruising for a pardon, because just, I think, yesterday, as we record this midweek USA time, federal agents were in his office in Austin, Texas, looking for documents, serving warrants and subpoenas. So he's just cruising for his pardon. And amazingly, more than half of the Republican members of the House of Representatives signed an amicus brief to the Supreme Court. And this is just mush-mash, lies, insinuations. It's judicial garbage. But what they're basically trying to do, these attorney generals and these 106 members of Congress, is say, if you live in Michigan, if you live in Georgia, if you live in Wisconsin, if you live in Pennsylvania, we're just going to take all your votes and throw them away.
That's a great idea. I really love that idea very much.
They are claiming that last-minute changes in the election protocol affected them in the other states because of the election of the President of the United States. Republicans forever have been the party of states' rights, and all you Southern fans out there, that's what the Civil War South claimed they went to war for, was for states' rights. But now you're saying that 4 states can't put their own slate of electors up for the president. It's judicial garbage and propaganda, and it just continues to separate America. And today, as we record this, Thursday, USA time, Rush Limbaugh, Medal of Freedom winner from Trump, who's been pumping out hate for the last 30 years, says maybe it's time that we separate in the United States, that we have secession.
The last time this happened, though, Kirk, was just before the American Civil War.
Civil War has been trending too. It's that's why we have 30 days of supplies here at home,
and fly spray.
You have to be a regular viewer to get that illusion, but yes, because it shoots 30 feet out there. But the fact is, because we don't have guns, because
you got vicious
people
ducks.
got their guns.
You got ducks.
Yeah, ducks are pretty intimidating. Let me tell you, you ought to see a 15-pound duck coming at you gets your attention.
That's an ostrich. That's an ostrich.
We have big ducks, but the bottom line is, people out there buying guns like crazy. I've seen the lines at the store. But good luck now getting ammunition. That's in short supply. And what you do have, you think you're going to be able to take on even our Metro SWAT team out here, who one fine officer, you can find it on my Twitter feed a couple of weeks ago, told me, in certain terms to, well, you can just look at that feed. It makes me fully understand why there is the saying, which I believe, like President Obama and Joe Biden said, could come up with a better phrase than defund the police. But I certainly understand why people say that. And I'm an old white guy. Nonetheless, this is just an incredible situation for Joe Biden to come into. And a lot of people are now saying, I'm sure there's a tremendous amount of discussion going on in the Biden camp, how to respond to this. So far, you can go to @46transition on Twitter, and that's their official Twitter feed for this. And if you're just a glutton for punishment and just want to abuse yourself, you can look at the Trump Twitter feed. The man, oh my God, he's still going to be president for another 40 days. I'm really not going to be able to catch my breath until he is out of there. It's simply mind-boggling. But the question is, how does Biden and the administration team, the president-elect's administration team, respond to this? So far, of course, the attorney generals from the states that have been sued, this case that we started talking about, it's Texas with the support of 17 other states suing 4 other states, suing Wisconsin, they're suing Michigan, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. It's crazy. It is crazy. And you ought to see the subplots going on Twitter. You've got this incredibly conservative governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, and yet people are saying, oh, man, is he an agent of the CCP? Is he a Chinese Communist Party agent? How dumb can you people be? How dumb?
But he is. His nickname is Agent Dumpling. Maybe
it's
not.
It is the weirdest, strangest holiday season that I've ever seen. I'll look at my liked tweets. You ask me another question, then I'll go off on another tirade about something.
Yes, just looking at Facebook, the antitrust, the antitrust is that's a big deal, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It really is. And this is one time that I think the attorney generals, I believe like 48 of them. So this, oh my gosh, it's something bipartisan. Facebook sucks. What's amazing is you have the right wing saying, oh, Facebook is towards the left. But no, if you look at the analytics and statistical data of it, Facebook skewed so much towards the right. It's unbelievable. And really, what would you expect?
Not really. No, they were a great funder of the electoral activities in the Democrat counties.
Not when you look. You can if you're reading the Epoch Times or the rags like that, you may get distorted facts because there's facts, there's lies, and then there's statistics. But the bottom line with Facebook is, look who the man is that started it. He started Facebook to rate the attractiveness of co-eds at Harvard. And basically people's character.
That's a great idea.
Basically, people's character and temperament don't change. Easy to find me on Twitter. I'd love for you to follow me @Clyatt, Clyatt. I'm proud to say I've not been on Facebook for years. What they're looking to do with this suit is basically what happened was, anytime Facebook would see a company that could nibble away at the corners or be some little bit of their business, or take away a little bit of something from them, they bought it. Of course, WhatsApp, I must admit, I have WhatsApp on my phone. Instagram, I guess I have an Instagram account, but I don't use it. What's amazing is I have followers and I've never posted a picture. But what they're looking to do, the federal government, is to get some of their major subsidiary services that Facebook owns, like WhatsApp, like Instagram, spun off into separate companies. You may remember the last time we had something like this many years ago, actually, was with the Bell systems, when you had, I think it was the early 70s, so we're talking like almost 50 years ago, when you had AT&T. The Bell system was broken up in an anti-monopolistic litigation by the Justice Department. Then you had things like Mid-Atlantic Bell and New York Bell and Bell South. So it broke them up, the Bell system, into what was called at the time these baby bells. So we've gone a long way from analog telephone to the digital world, but it's a similar scenario where so much of the social media spectrum, which is clearly important to billions of people on a daily basis, and Facebook has become like China. try to get by the day without using a product from China. Right now,
You can't.
the phone I'm using to talk to you on, the two lights, it's unbelievable. Although I do have this other phone. I actually have an LG phone built in Korea.
That's
So,
right,
yeah,
but with Chinese knowledge, I would imagine. Look, speaking of China, you are right. They're everywhere. They're in your kitchen. I mean, not the Chinese, but the goods are everywhere. Your televisions.
No, we have somebody in their nation. Is dinner ready? Let me see. The guy from China, he's cooking right now.
No, they're under the table. But look, China's everywhere, including once Biden gets in, they're also in government. I mean, look, look at the Democrats. You guys love the Chinese spies. I mean, you love them in more ways than one. Quickly, state lockdowns seem to be targeting restaurants and personal services. I understand what they're doing, but tell me this. What is the difference between a smaller store that sells, say, hardware and a big one that sells hardware? Smaller one is shut. The big one stays open.
There are a lot of real problems with this. If you listen to my podcast from last Saturday on 6PR, so just search 6PR. It's a wonderful radio station in Perth, Australia. 6PR and Kirk Clyatt, Kirkclyatt, and go in midway through that show. I have the clip of a proprietor who runs a bar and establishment in Southern California. She's put a lot of money into outdoor dining.
Saw that, yep.
And I totally agree with her predicament there, because it's the same BS that they tried to put off here. And I'm going to say there's BS on the left and on the right, too.
There
is. Generally like our governor, Steve Sisolak, here in Nevada, but he allowed construction of the Boondoggle Allegiant Stadium to continue. It looks like a Roomba. Have you seen those vacuum cleaners? Looks like a giant Roomba on the I-15. It's the home of the Las Vegas Raiders football team, and so far, 0 fans have been in there. So that construction continued. They just had to get it done in lieu of the COVID restrictions. And now they're trying to say that TV production is essential in Southern California.
Well, it is. So we need to watch NCIS and got to watch all those great shows.
Well, I feel absolutely affinity with the woman. She's worked hard. She's got an outdoor dining area. Hers is closed down. On the other side of the coin, you have the craft services area for a movie coming in. That is absolutely wrong. But there's politics on all sides. How much do you close down? I'm not excusing these actions. And I think you've got to feel very sorry for this particular woman. But I think I tweeted in March when all this insanity started going around Las Vegas. It's like saying, I'm kind of pregnant. No, you're not kind of pregnant. You are pregnant, or you're not pregnant. You're not. Oh, maybe I'm pregnant. Same thing we had here. You got to shut it down, or you're going to leave it open. Well, we're kind of shut down, except for the construction, except for A, B, C, D, Z. Look what happened. Melbourne, the Victorian government there, they did it the right way.
They did it, open. But after they killed 870 people. Oh, but we made a mistake.
That's hardly any compared that have died here. Victoria, double the population of Nevada, roughly, within the ballpark. Double the population in Nevada. Nevada has over 3,000 deaths, not cases, 3,000 deaths. And our governor has tried to do things the right way. And I was today, I admit, you can call me hypocritical if you want, but casinos send me free play. In the Bible of Vegas, it's against the gospel to not use free play. So it doesn't say anything in there about the pandemic. I was looking in the Vegas Bible, see if there's a footnote about pandemics. But no, you have to use your free play because you can't lose with free play. So I was running into a casino today to use my $10 of free play.
Did you wear a mask?
And I did indeed.
That one, that terrible one you were wearing before?
No, the one with the winners. The winners. I'll just wear it on the way out here. But I was
But they haven't won.
How many
they
people?
Haven't won.
How many? Well, you know what? The Electoral College votes on the 14th. Let me check my calendar.
Yep.
Oh, that's Monday. All states and the District
we need
of Columbia
to see what
certified.
happens with the Texas, the Lone Star
Yeah, it's going to
state.
be 9
I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
If by some horrible situation that case was granted and approved by the Supreme Court, America would be over.
But as I said, the last time it happened was just prior to the Civil War. But you're fine. You've got your personal generator, you got fly spray, other goodies there.
We're
Plus you got
shopping
the
for the
ducks,
generator.
you got the deaf dog who won't be able to hear anybody come in, but
That's
once
right.
they see something they
That's
can
right.
let loose. You've got
eggs.
your cooking. That'll scare
Yeah, I
them
tell you
off.
what, on the way out, I'll take you. We actually have an auxiliary refrigerator out here just for eggs. Let's show you on the way out, shall we?
I'm
Here
looking
we go.
forward to this.
On the way out. All right, here we are. This is our beautiful OLA. There's Ted, our beautiful Christmas seat. Isn't that stunning? This is our little tropical backdrop. This is, and then in here, and here we turn on the light. This is our little storage room where we have some of our supplies, just to give you an idea of what we have. We have drawn fat dried milk. We have pounds of rice, many cans of tomato sauce.
Tomatoes, yep.
We have, and then if we ever need an egg, we have duck eggs, and we've accumulated some other eggs. These are all duck eggs.
Oh my! Are your ducks on steroids? That's far too many for a normal duck.
I know.
And the scary thing is, they're male ducks.
No, there are only a couple of them out there. So anyway,
They're exhausted. They're exhausted.
They're the dogs. They're the dogs. They'll say bye. Bye, Mike. Bye.
Kirk, we've enjoyed that very much. Talk to you next week, maybe.
Bye.
And that's it for Asia Pacific Today, Friday, December 11, 2020. I'm Mike Ryan.